I used to watch a lot of PBS Kids growing up, especially Dinosaur Train. That was my personal favorite. I remember walking around my house singing the dinosaur alphabets, but I know I wasn't alone. According to data, 58% of you sitting here today also grew up watching PBS Kids. I know you have that funded by viewers like you engraved into your memories. But now that we're older, have we ever stopped to wonder, how did PBS Kids become the blueprint of our childhoods? Let's rewind. Today, PBS Kids is this educational empire. No ads, free shows, and talking animals that teach you how to be good people. But it wasn't always like this. It didn't just appear with the jingle. In 1994, PBS Kids was officially launched. It had shows like Arthur, Wild Kratts, and Dinosaur Train. They were made by educators to teach kids who didn't have all the advantages. But none of this would have been possible without the Public Broadcasting Act of 1967, which basically said, what if TV didn't rot your brain? Weird, right? But even that wasn't an original thought. During the civil rights movement, people weren't just fighting for seats in classrooms. They were fighting for classrooms that actually taught something. Because the sad truth was, a lot of kids, especially from low income and minority families, were coming into school already behind. And it wasn't because they weren't smart. It was because they were handed coloring books with half the crayons missing. So activists said, yeah, kids can't afford tutors or private schools, but you know what they do have? A TV. And boom, Sesame Street was born. And it's no coincidence that Sesame Street looks like Harlem. It wasn't set. It was on purpose. Because when kids see their own neighborhoods on TV, plus a big yellow bird teaching them the alphabets, it hits different. Now here's the twist. I just taught you 60 years of history in 2 minutes. And I didn't start with a king, or a war, or some ancient ruin buried in the dirt. I started with right now. Something you know. Something you love. So if history can be taught like this, like a thread you can follow from your own life, why are we still teaching it like it's totally disconnected from us? Like it's just old dates and old dead people. History isn't just a timeline. It's a trail. And we're already walking it. Pause. Before I continue, I want to make something very clear. This isn't a criticism of history teachers, because I've been very lucky to have teachers who I have loved and who have taught me much. This is about a school system that forces those teachers to teach stories out of order, disconnected from the lives of the students sitting right in front of them. Studies show that 60% of high school kids and graduates say that schools need to change the way they teach history. Only 7% of kids say history is their favorite subject. And only 15% are actually proficient in history. But it gets worse, because these numbers are actually declining. So clearly something isn't working. But it's not us. I want you to imagine something. I want you to imagine that you're a 14-year-old high school student sitting in your global history class, listening to your teacher talk about a random Roman. Let's call him Marcus. So You're listening to your teacher talk about Marcus taking a dump, and you're forced to take notes on the types of sewers he was using because it was being graded. Do you really think you would pay attention? It's okay, you can be honest. Let me ask you another question. When was the last time you watched the news? It wasn't just playing in the background, but you really watched, understood, and cared. For me, it was when I heard PBS Kids was getting shut down. But usually I don't. Not because I don't care about the world or my country, but because I don't feel like it's for me. Every time I turn it on, it's taxes, politics, international trade, grown-up stuff. It's like being at a party where everyone is talking, but no one's talking to you. Their words swirl around you like smoke. You see it, but you can't touch it. Their noise surrounds you, but it's not for you. If you don't see how a subject impacts you, you're not likely to retain it. The problem isn't history, it's the way we unwrap it. Like giving someone a treasure chest and telling them to be excited about the lock instead of what's actually inside. We're teaching history like it's a straight line, when we should be teaching it like a web. Or maybe even a mirror. Because history isn't just behind us, it is us. Even my mom, who's a STEM major, and one of the smartest people I know, always asks me, "Why do you care about history, Raya? It's just old news and old dead people." And to be honest, sometimes I see where she's coming from. If all you get handed to you are timelines, fat textbooks, and ancient sewage systems without knowing its significance, it's easy to think history is irrelevant and things long gone by. But it's not, is it? History isn't about memorizing what happened. It's about understanding why we are where we are. So, what if we flipped it? What if we taught history backwards? Start with now, and then trace the footsteps that led us here. Start with climate change, with the 2024 election, with AI, with global wars, with college debt, with protests, with pandemics. Then ask, how did we get here? Where did we come from? Who decided how the world we live in functioned? Who had the power and who paid the price? What happened for the events of today to have happened? When did this start? This connection we create from point A, the world we live in now, to point B, the world in the past, is how we teach students that they're not the afterthought of history, they're the continuation of it. And this doesn't just apply to history. Ask almost any adult, and 89% of them will tell you the same thing. I wish I'd paid more attention at school. I wish school had taught me taxes, relationships, mental health, or how to get a job. So many of them look back at their education and realize they were handed puzzle pieces, some with even jagged edges, without ever being shown the picture on the box. And it wasn't because they didn't care about the picture. It was because they didn't know why they should. But imagine if they were taught why. Imagine if they were taught about redlining right after they asked why their neighborhoods look the way they do. Imagine if they were taught about Islamophobia, anti-Asian hate, and anti-Semitism right after having slurs thrown at them in the hallways? Imagine if they were taught about colonialism right after they asked why so many countries speak English. History isn't about the actions of certain communities, but about the actions of humanity as a whole. This is more than just teaching history backwards. It's teaching students to be global citizens, people who understand that they don't just live in the world, but they help shape it. That their lives are not footnotes in a textbook, but links in a chain that stretches back and forward through time. Because the truth is, we are all connected. Every protest, every invention, every war, every compromise, every injustice, and every act of courage, they're all part of the same fabric that we now wear today. Teaching history backwards doesn't just engage students, it teaches empathy. It gives them a mirror to see themselves and a map to understand others. It shows them their own significance in a world where they see none. It tells them, you matter. You are a part of something. And you can make a difference. And before I leave you here today, I want to give you one last example. And it's something we all know, maybe even love. The Kardashians. Half of us want to be them, the other half wants to be with them. They had us tuning in every single week for Keeping Up with the Kardashians. We were acting like it was a national holiday or something. But the title, Keeping Up with the Kardashians, turns out is a modern echo of an old phrase, Keeping Up with the Joneses, the name of a comic strip from the 1900s that made fun of people who bent over backwards to look rich, just to keep pace with the wealthy. Spoiler alert, we still do that, but, But the Joneses were real people. They were an ultra-rich, old money family from the 1850s whose lavish lifestyles set a bar for the American elites of the time. And the new money Vanderbilts ate it up. They were the titans of the railways, Mughals of the Gilded Age. But they weren't just satisfied with that. They weren't satisfied with just money. They wanted status. So they built palaces, imported ceilings from Europe, created entire states just to get into the old money exclusive social circles. That drive, that hunger for power and approval is synonymous with the Gilded Age and the heart of the HBO Emmy Award-winning show, The Gilded Age, which happens to be coming out with their third season this summer. So, did we catch that? Did we see what I did there? You thought I was going to be talking about the Kardashians for a second, didn't you? Well, surprise! I just taught you 150 years of history. So, what do the Kardashians, Keeping Up with the Joneses, the Vanderbilts, and the Gilded Age all have in common? They're all part of a pattern. And if I can trace that pattern from a reality show to the 19th century wealth inequality, I bet you a teacher can too. So let's flip the script. Let's start with today, from today. Let's show them that history isn't just about what happened, but why it still matters. All we have to do is teach it backwards. Start with now and let them follow the thread. Because when kids start seeing themselves in history, they stop zoning out and they start listening in. Thank you.